this for somebody. Who am I recording this for?
Hannah.
Anna. All right, so I'm recording. I guess it's recording. All right, we'll go forth. Okay, so a couple real quick little things. Tell me what's important about this slide. Anybody? Oh, I have popsicle sticks. I have popsicle sticks and you guys at home have one. All right, so the only problem is I can't see very well. Oh, Janelle. Tell me what's important about this slide.
It's showing the prime meridian and the different.
Excellent,
yeah.
excellent, right? And also it's showing the most famous latitude line, right? Showing the most famous latitude line. Good. All right. So here's a Pear Deck question for you. What is the 40-degree? Where is the 40-degree latitude line closest to our city? And what is it? Anybody? Hannah D. Who's not here? Lydia. Columbia. Excellent. It is Columbia. So you should know that, right? You should know that. And you should kind of have, because it kind of helps you, right? It kind of helps you. Good. All right. So latitudinally, the intensity of the sun is different, isn't it? Latitudinally, the different intensities of the sun makes a difference. So if I were to ask you, where does the sun always hit at full intensity? What latitude line? The equator. So it's always going to hit at the equator. It's always going to hit there at full intensity. The Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, it depends seasonally. If you are in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere, it's going to make a difference that way. Okay? So remember, the Earth has a tilt, and that tilt is not affecting the equator, is it, at all? How many days of sunlight and nighttime does the equator always have? Anybody? Anybody there in Cyberland know? It's 12 and 12. Okay? It's 12 and 12. The equator always has, it's not like in the northern hemisphere. So you guys know, right? What time does the sun set in the summertime? Ish. Yeah, like 8 o'clock, right? I mean, or, it's long. It's setting what time that now? Like 7:30 or something, okay? In December, when does the sun set? Like when you walk out the door to go home, right? I mean, it's dark, right? So as you go further north in the northern hemisphere, that's more and more exaggerated. So have you ever heard the land of the midnight sun? You ever heard that? So if you go farther into higher latitudes in the northern hemisphere in the summer, by the time you get up to Alaska, it basically stays like twilight the whole time, okay? And if you're at the poles, you're in sunlight all the time. I mean, it's not that bright, but it is. So that's one of the things I hope you get to do. I hope you get to go up far enough north that you can see that. First time I did that, I was actually in Norway. And it was just so weird. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning and it was like sunrise. I mean, it was very, very cool. But remember, that is flipped for our people down in the southern hemisphere. right? And our seasons are flipped as well. So here's my question. What is the equinox? What is the equinox? Cannot show my. All right, so Maria, what's the equinox?
It's when the sun like crosses the equator, or like it's just, can you hear me?
I can, I hear you great.
Okay. It's when like the sun crosses the equator, and then the day is like there's like 12 hours of sun. I'm not sure actually.
Yeah, that's good. So in March and in, what is this date? This would be in the fall, right? At a certain time, it's 12 and 12 for us. It's always 12 and 12 for the equator people, but it's 12 and 12 for us. Good. All right. So, two things that you need to know from this slide. The trade winds, or in other words, the surface winds at the Earth's surface, are due to what two phenomenon? What two things make these curlicue winds, make these crazy kind of patterns that I see here? There's two things. What are they? Blah, blah. This is so bad. Aaliyah. Yes? Which is called what effect? Coriolis effect. Excellent. And there's one other thing. Anybody know? Yes. Bingo. Excellent. Right? Two things that cause this. The unequal heating at the equator and the spinning of the Earth, which produces the Coriolis effect. Right? So that produces these guys, right? The trade winds and the westerlies, right? Up at the poles, guys, the air is basically kind of going around. It's like a circumventual, it kind of stays up at the poles, and it's relatively dry. Now, in addition to this, you need to think 3D, okay? Because we also have these things called Hadley cells, right? And so that is in addition to these guys. So if I'm standing on the Earth at the equator, I got a lot of heating, right? And so the heating is causing that air to rise. As it rises higher and higher in the atmosphere, what happens to the temperature of that air? As it gets higher and higher, it's going to get cooler. And as the water vapor in the air gets cooler, what's going to happen to the actual H2O that was a gas? It's going to turn into water. So it's going to rain. Okay? And so this is an area of low pressure. Okay? This is an area of low pressure because watch. The air is lifting, but as it's lifting, it's causing precipitation. So if you guys ever, if you're anybody here a Weather Channel geek, anybody? Oh, Weather Channel is so fun. Anyway, as the air goes, low pressures are what cause our rains. If it's high pressure, it's going to be a nice day for your picnic. Okay. Now, the air releases, as it's going up, it releases its water load, and now it's drier. And it circulates, okay? And then it comes back down. It gets cooler, it comes back down. But this time it doesn't have any moisture. It's released its payload, okay? And then we have another cell here. And so at this point, you see how the air is coming down? So if I'm standing here, the air is coming down on me. That is a high pressure. But it's dry, right? Because it's already dumped off its water. So areas where you have this high pressure is going to be areas that are drier. And so we call these cells, we call them Hadley cells. The next set is called a feral cell, and then we have polar cells. I'm not going to ask you that. I'd like you to know what a Hadley cell is, but that is going to cause patterns of precipitation that are predictable depending on the latitude, okay? And that's what I expect an AP Bio student to know. Now, the sailors used to call these latitudes, do you see right there? These latitudes right here, they call them the Hoarse Latitudes. Does anybody have an idea of why they would call them the Hoarse Latitudes? The picture is kind of giving you a little hint. How sad, right? Yeah.
Like the waves or like the current.
Right. So in the days when we were, you know, sailing around the world like this, a lot of times we would take horses as cargo to wherever we were going. And sailors knew that those were very stormy latitudes. That would be a place where it was very stormy. And so a lot of times they would, you know, they come because they would have to, sometimes they would just, this is so sad, they would have to just they would have to get rid of some ballast in their ship, and they would just let the horses out and die. How sad is that, right? To prevent the ship from sinking. I know, I'm so sorry to tell you that. But that's why they call them the Hoarse Latitudes. Now, I'm not going to take the time to show you this video, but I want you to watch it. It's 2 minutes well worth your time, because the guy goes through a simulation of both the surface winds and he talks about the Hadley cells. So I think it'll be really, so please make sure you take the time to look at that. All right, so drag your dot to what we call the rain shadow. Drag your dot to what we call the rain shadow. Where would the rain shadow be? Yay! So get over there. Those of you that are on the top here, that's not the rain shadow, it's right here, right? Get your dots over there so that when you get the takeaway, you'll see the right answer. Why do we call it the rain shadow? Because the rain, so if you have surface winds coming this way over a body of water and they're going up, 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 it's what Eli just told us, right? So as the air gets higher altitude, it drops its payload of water, and on the leeward side of the mountain, which could be east or west, depending on, you know, which way the winds are coming, this is the rain shadow, okay? So we got the windward side and the leeward side. All right, so you guys know these are gyri, right? And we're going to learn more about gyri when we talk about climate change. But these drive the global climate. These are drivers of the global climate. And one of the ones that's the most important, I mean, we learned about it because it was circulating garbage, but that's not the purpose, right? The purpose is they're just following physical laws, but it's driving global climate. So for example, one of the most important ocean currents is the Gulf Stream. And you guys have all experienced this. If you've gone swimming on the eastern seaboard, on the East Coast, if you stand in the water, some days it's really warm. Like you go to the beach, you're like, how's the water, right? If it's warm, that means the Gulf Stream is close to the coast. The next day, or even a couple of hours later, right? You can go back in again and it's freezing, right? And that's because the Gulf Stream has moved further out. But I will tell you a crazy thing. Look at this. Look at what country are these peeps? Right, A for the day. Ireland, Scotland, United Kingdom, right? Look how high they are. Look at their latitudes. That's like New Brunswick, right? Super, super high, okay? The first time I went to Ireland and I went on the coast, there are palm trees. Palm trees, look where it is. Ridiculous. Did you see palm trees in northern Canada? I don't think so, okay? So it's because of the Gulf Stream. Do you see the Gulf Stream here? So the Gulf Stream modulates that climate, and it's warm enough that they can actually grow palm trees. Just on the coast, not any further. All right, so there is a difference between climate and weather. And there are three factors that are going to determine, and you know, why are we talking about all this weather stuff? Because it affects us when we talk about biomes, right? So three factors that determine: waterfall, insolation. Now, does anybody watch the movie The Martian? I love that movie. If you haven't seen it, do you remember what Matt Damon called a day? Anybody? It was a sol, S-O-L, okay? They'll say sol, phi, whatever, okay? Sol means sun, okay? So insolation is sunlight, intensity of sunlight, and temperature. And of course, all of those things affect photosynthesis, which we're going to be learning about. So real quick, I want you to write down, what is the difference between the climate of the Sahara Desert and the weather in the Sahara Desert? Okay, so write down, you know, what is the climate of the Sahara Desert, and then what might the weather be like? So the climate is what? How would you describe the climate of the Sahara Desert? Everybody gets that, right? Hot and dry, right? Excellent. Annika Reed, A for the day. Hot during the day, cool at night, limited precipitation. What would the weather at the Sahara Desert be? Could it be cool and rainy? Sure. Probably not very likely, but does it ever rain? Sure. Okay. So there is a difference between climate and weather. Most people do not understand that. Okay. But if you have that little thing, so weather is just a daily event, right? The weather is whatever temperature, whatever precipitation pattern it is. Okay. So this sets up our biomes, and there are patterns to the biomes based on temperature, precipitation, and intensity of sunlight, right? Those are the things that are going to affect. And there's a pattern here. So what I'd like you to do is, are you typing here? Are you circling? Or, I can't remember. Drawing, okay. I want you to draw a circle around the biome that has the greatest range of precipitation. All right, my little peeps, Maria, Zinnia, and Janelle, can you guys hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up, we'll smile. Actually, I can't see you smile, but I can see your thumbs up.
Yeah.
Good. All right, so I want you to circle it on the climograph. This thing is called a climograph. So I want you to actually circle it on the climograph. Right, Aaliyah, excellent, right? So you're circling this, right? I see this is a great range, the tropical rainforest. Good. Again, this is a great little video, very short. I think it's like a minute, and it shows you how to read climate graphs that have a double y-axis. So let's see, tell me, what is the average temperature in December? So I want you to look at this. This is a climatogram, and I want you to tell me what is the average temperature in December. So type it in. Good. Good, Lydia. Right? Nice, Bailey. So it's around 2022, right? So you have to learn how to read the precipitation. So if you guys write the wrong answer, go ahead and fix it, right? So because when you get, has anybody looked at the takeaways? Anybody? Okay, great. So it's nice to have those. All right. So why is it a good idea to hike when you're hiking to wear layers? Remember this, every 1,000 feet difference in elevation is a 3-degree Fahrenheit temperature drop. So you can go to Hawaii and you can start off at, 100 degrees, 100% humidity, and you can climb up and you can get to like snow, okay? In New Zealand, we did that. It was super duper, palm trees, hot, and you're climbing up to glaciers. So every 1,000 feet, so if you're going to go hiking on a mountain, and how many of you guys have hiked on a mountain before? Right? So you know this, right? The higher up you go, the cooler it is. So that's a good rule of thumb. Every 1,000 feet, a 3-degree change. So why am I telling you this? Because on a mountain, you can have microclimates, right? You can have micro biomes where different areas, like here, I get up high enough and it's like alpine. It's almost like tundra, except it's not tundra because there's one thing tundra has that this doesn't have, but it's going to have different organisms. All right, so you and I are going on a road trip. Wouldn't that be fun? We could get like a big camper and stuff it full of food. Road trip. All right. So we're getting on the interstate and we're going to LA. So I want you to list the different biomes that we would see. All right. Let's say we start in New York and we're gonna get over to we're gonna get to the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Anybody know what interstate that is? Interstate 70. You can take that all the way out, and actually we'll drop down. Let's go to LA. All right, LA is down Southern California right here. So list them in order. Good. So we would go through, so I'm looking at Eli type, deciduous forest, grassland, desert, and deciduous forest again, unless we're down in LA and then it's really almost like desert, but that's fine, you can keep it there. Okay, nice. How, if you wanted to see a coniferous biome, you're like, Mrs. Floyd, let's take a detour. How could I, without taking hundreds of miles of detour, how could I get you to see a coniferous forest? What could I do? Yeah. Yeah, which would mean I would go up in elevation. Okay, A for the day. Excellent. So I would just go up in elevation if I wanted to show you that. All right, so we're gonna do these really quick. What's this biome? Okay, so I see some people saying grassland and some people saying savanna. And Bailey, you're right, it's a savanna. So how would you know it's a savanna? There's something specific about it that you can see that's different than a grassland.
I saw all the trees, and I thought that if there's grasslands, there usually aren't many.
You are right, correct, A for the day. So if they have these scrubby trees, and a savanna is actually hotter than a grassland. It's more arid. All right, good. All right, what is this? You remember how to spell it, Abby? Oh, you did spell it. Woohoo! Right, Abby. It is a chaparral. So what is something that is a good key to know? I mean, these are same pictures from the book. So what is something, what's a characteristics that lets you know that this is a chaparral? Anybody, anybody? Shrubs. They have these woody shrubs. It's very arid and they have these woody shrubs. This one is a super easy. What is this, Zenia?
Desert.
Desert, good. All right, what about this one? What's this? Excellent, excellent. Tropical rainforest, right? Good, Annika. Tropical rainforest. Characteristics, temperature would be high, rain precipitation would be high. Insolation, high, right? So all of those things would be high. All right, what's this? I think this is one of the, have you ever seen this? Anybody ever seen this? It's so beautiful. It really is. It's just like so clean. Hey, what is this? Grassland, also known as a, starts with a P, prairie, okay? No trees, no trees. Extreme temperatures, like really cold at night, super hot during the day. Good. What's this? This is a, good Abby, good Janelle. This is a coniferous forest. These usually have lower precipitation, higher, lower temperatures. Look at the shape of a pine tree. See how it's skinny at the top and bigger at the bottom? It is built to withstand a lot of snow, okay, without breaking. All right, nice. All right, and this one, I can't wait till we get to see this. What is this? Good old deciduous forest, right? Good. All right, now this one. What is this biome and what is one unique feature about this biome? There's something about it that is unique. And that's going to be Kim. You can actually read your name. What is this, first of all? Anybody? Help her? This is tundra. Did I not have you right on here? Sorry. This is tundra. Does anybody know what is one characteristic of the tundra that is very unique? The ground is frozen. What is that called? It actually tells you what it is. Permafrost. Super important. We're going to talk about this when we talk about climate change. What does permafrost mean? It means you dig down and it's frozen, people. It's frozen dirt all the time. The tiny, tiny little tot might thaw just a little bit, enough to get some very surfacey roots. Do you see big trees here? Why? Because the ground is frozen. Okay, they can't get down, so it's very, very crusty. All right, so the aquatic biomes. You're not going to have to memorize all of these words. The old AP Bio test would have made you do this. I would know things like benthic, right, which means deep. But this is what I would know, photic. The photic zone, do you see? It's at the top of both marine, which means saltwater, and freshwater. What do you think the photic zone means, Aaliyah? Correct. That's where photosynthesis occurs, right? And photosynthesis doesn't occur very deep, so you definitely need to know the photic zone. And then here, did you draw here? Yeah. Where do you think the nutrients are? Nutrients. And why? So where do you think the nutrients are and why? already talked to you today, so I'm going to call Zinnia. Zinnia, where would the nutrients be and why?
Wouldn't it be at the bottom? Because when it freezes
Correct.
over, it's
And why are they down there?
because when it freezes over, it still has to contain the nutrients.
I couldn't quite hear what you said. Did you hear? Did you say that's where the decomposers break down dead stuff? That's
No,
where
but
that.
not.
Yep, and that, right? So all the dead things go down to the bottom, and that's where our decomposers break it down. That's where the vitamins and nutrients are. Who needs these? Well, the producers need them. Where do the producers live, peeps? In the Photic Zone. So we have a problem, Houston, right? Because the plants, the algae that need this nutrients need to get it, and it's in the bottom. So there is something called a turnover of water. Now, think about this, because this is important. What gas are the plants in the Photic Zone, mostly microscopic, right? It's not like trees or anything, but what gas are the organisms in the Photic Zone producing? Oxygen. Who needs oxygen in an aquatic system? Everybody. So the oxygen's on the top, the nutrients on the bottom. What needs to happen? They need to mix. And that happens twice a year, okay, in our hemisphere. In the autumn, the colder water at the top, as the temperatures get colder, cold things sink, right? Warm things rise. And so you can very clearly see there's going to be a mixing here. We call it a turnover. And the oxygen goes down to the areas that are lower, and the nutrients go up to where the plants need them. In the spring, it's a little bit different. What happens is the top layer is warm, and it just kind of mixes. It's not quite as much of a flip, but what's happening is the warmer gets warmer, and the water mixes, and that's important. All right, we're almost done here, peeps. So when you think about how species are dispersed in a biome, we have abiotic and biotic factors, right? In other words, how would the species be spread out? That's what dispersal means, okay? And it's determined by abiotic factors like what? Give me one abiotic factor. Give me one abiotic factor. Temperature. Give me another abiotic factor. Good, okay? The biotic factors would be like food availability, predators, right? All that stuff. So here's my point. Do you guys remember learning when you were baby freshmen about things called keystone species? We're going to watch this amazing, uplifting movie about keystone species. Sea urchins are keystone species. But look, and sea urchins eat kelp. Okay, so I'm going to show you. That is a kelp forest. Anybody scuba dived or snorkeled? Yeah, these are, if you get to see these, they are beautiful. It's like a rainforest underwater, okay? Sea urchins eat kelp, okay? So now we're going to go back. If the sea urchin population is controlled, if the sea urchins are present, right, what happens to my seaweed? Look, my seaweed cover is going to go down. When the sea urchins are removed, I take the sea urchins out, what happens to my kelp forest? They go up, right? They go up. So that's affecting the whole biome. So now let's take climate change into this, okay? We know that our oceans are getting warmer. Okay, so just think about the domino effect. This is where this particular species of sea urchin lives. It hangs out in Australia. But as the oceans are getting warmer, what is happening to the species dispersal of this particular type of sea urchin. Where's it going? It's going down south, which is in the southern hemisphere, colder, right? So it's spreading down to Tasmania. So what problems do you think they're having in Tasmania in their marine environments? You think their kelp forests are nice and healthy? Probably not, which affects, of course, everything else in the food web. All right? That's it. Okay? You did it, your first full AP Bio lecture. Have a great weekend. Enjoy. And if you didn't, finish the assignments that you need to for this week, you can do that. But hopefully you'll have a little break, get some sleep, be safe. And whatever you're doing, do it socially distanced. All right? So we don't want any COVID cooties coming back, right? All right, goodbye, little peeps. Have a great weekend.